J-Bone here. Formula One is testing out something this season that could potentially change the shape of every single Grand Prix. Let's investigate. J-Bone! If you're new to Formula One, a normal Grand Prix weekend goes as follows. On Friday, there are 2 hour-long free practice sessions called FP1 and FP2. On Saturday, there is an additional hour-long FP3 and then 3 qualifying sessions called Q1, Q2, and Q3 that combined last about 1 hour. These qualifying sessions determine in which starting position each driver will begin Sunday's Grand Prix. This is called forming the grid. And Sunday, of course, is race day. For a number of reasons, including wanting to make the typically pretty boring zero-stakes Friday a more exciting day for race fans, Formula One has introduced a new qualifying experiment called F1 Sprint. The thing about F1 Sprints is that they drastically change up race weekends. A Grand Prix weekend that includes F1 Sprint goes as follows. Friday looks the same as a standard race weekend Saturday. There's an hour-long free practice session followed by Q1, Q2, and Q3 qualifying sessions. However, the qualifying sessions in an F1 Sprint weekend no longer form the grid for the Grand Prix. Instead, they form the grid for a mini race on Saturday called the F1 Sprint. F1 Sprint is a 100-kilometer race, so about 1/3 the length of a Grand Prix, and features no mandatory pit stops. It serves the dual purpose of entertaining race fans and, as you probably guessed, forming the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix. Additionally, there are added stakes to spice things up. World Championship points can be earned by reaching the podium of an F1 Sprint race, with 3 points going to first place, 2 points to second place, and 1 point to third place. The first and only ever Formula One Grand Prix weekend that's included F1 Sprint was the 2021 British Grand Prix. You know, that race. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton took F1 Sprint pole position thanks to being the quickest in Friday's qualifying sessions, but had a bad start to his F1 Sprint race and ended up losing Sprint to Red Bull's Max Verstappen. You know, that guy. So Max Verstappen won the first ever F1 Sprint race and was awarded a massively oversized wreath as a result. Look at that wreath. It's a huge wreath. Call this guy Aretha Franklin. Despite winning, thus being awarded pole position in Sunday's British Grand Prix, Max Verstappen had a pretty traditionalist mentality about the whole ordeal, saying, and I quote, "I think still pole position should be deserved over one fast lap. That for me is a proper pole position." It's not the greatest endorsement for F1 Sprint when the guy who won it doesn't like it. Other drivers, such as 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel, have also criticized the awarding of pole position to the F1 Sprint victor. F1 Managing Director Ross Brawn has responded to these criticisms by noting that this is something that may be reconsidered in the future. So what does the future of F1 Sprint look like? There are going to be 2 more F1 Sprints this year, with the next one being at Monza in September. As far as after that goes, Ross Brawn has stated that if F1 Sprint is a success this year, the plan is to make it an every once in a while event, but he hasn't yet ruled out that it could become the new normal, included in every single Grand Prix weekend. I very much doubt that ever happens, but you never know. Let me know your thoughts on F1 Sprint in the comments and toss me a follow for more Formula One content. J-Bone!